Zebra swallowtail flies to the valley, flies to the pawpaws, lays eggs here and there. Life is sweet, life is good, life is right. First Nations paddle upstream and some float down the river, planting pawpaws farther, thinking 7 generations. Travel and commerce, or just for pure pleasure. Travel and commerce, or just for pure pleasure. Zebratails in Pittsburgh, Part 2. Why zebratails have not returned. If you haven't watched Part 1, you might not follow all of this. Then again, it might be worth watching this all on its own. Again, I will repeat that this is an expansion of my 20-minute video, Restoring Zebra Swallowtails to Pittsburgh. In this video, I cover why pawpaws do not expand in areas where they are not well established. I'm also going to say a word a lot that I want you to remember. Protogyny. A second concept that I hope that you retain is anachronistic plants. The slides from Part 1 show what took up a lot of real estate that supported many organisms. As I said before, passive restoration has allowed many plants and animals to return, but not the pawpaw nor the zebra swallowtail. Here's why the pawpaw needs our help. It's time to talk about butterflies and their host plants. In order to understand what is necessary for the restoration of the pawpaw, it is critical that it be understood that the pawpaw is what is called an anachronistic organism. An anachronistic organism co-evolved with other organisms that are now extinct. Because of that gap, it has a harder time surviving unless some other organisms step in and take roles similar to the roles that the extinct organisms played. I won't go deep here, but I touched on this before with my emoji graph. I will now compare the host plants of monarchs, zebratails, and spicetails to explain the extirpation of the zebratail. Zebratail and spicebush are cute little nicknames for zebra swallowtail and spicebush swallowtail, which of course I won't say again in this video, but whatever, it doesn't matter. All right, here we go. Milkweed, pawpaws, and spicebush. These are hosts to monarchs, zebra swallowtails, and spicebush swallowtails. Monarchs lay eggs on milkweed, zebra swallowtails lay on pawpaws, and spicebush swallowtails lay on spicebush. I will score each on how difficult it is for them to reproduce and spread with a no check for each factor that makes it harder. Oh boy, come on. We'll start with germination requirements. Common milkweed requires cold stratification. It can grow just about anywhere. Pawpaws require cold stratification and constant moisture. It needs a shady, moist area, but not too moist. It also needs warmth to germinate after cold stratification. Spicebush requires cold stratification and constant moisture. It needs a fairly moist area. Now we got to think about growth requirements and reproductive requirements. Milkweed needs 2 or 3 years until it blooms and produces seed pods. It blooms in the heart of summer and is pollinated by many, many insects. Its pods produce 100 plus seeds, and each plant produces several pods. Pawpaws need 2 years of growth in the shade until they're about 18 inches or more tall. Then they need at least 3 more years of growth. Then they need sun. They need cross-pollination. Their flowers are protogynous, which I will explain later on. They also bloom in the spring and can lose their fruit if there is a late frost. They are pollinated by insects that are attracted to fermented odors. Wild pawpaws have 1 to 12 seeds per fruit. Number of fruit in the tree per in the wild is typically low, especially in areas where they're rare. Spicebush needs 3 to 6 years from seed to bloom. The plants are male and female, so only the female plant produces fruit. They bloom in the spring but endure frost. Female spicebush have 50 to several hundred berries each with 1 seed. And now the protogeny. I include this explanation because I keep seeing people making confusing assumptions about pawpaw sex. Protogynous, an adjective of botany and zoology, of a hermaphrodite flower or animal having the female reproductive organs come to maturity before the male. How the pawpaw flowers work. The pistil is receptive to fertilization. The pistil stops being receptive, the stamens develop and release pollen. That means it's pretty rare for them to self-pollinate. It does happen, but not often. The female form of the flower, nice, fresh, The male flower over there is kind of ragged, but it's like dropping pollen. It's like I could say something crude, but I won't. Anyway, next, let's get into this seed dispersion. Milkweed, air. The seeds only need light wind to disperse, and they grow just about anywhere. Milkweed also produces a large number of seeds. Most land close, but a few land far. Pawpaw. Various mammals. The range of the various mammals that still consume the fruit is not good. The distance goes from 1 to 10 miles, mostly around 3 miles, or even less, which is far less than the mastodons, who, if they are like the elephants, travel 50 more or more miles in herds. That is a significantly shorter distance. Native Americans of the past range the farthest, but it's like, okay, so the mastodons were around them for millions of years, something like that. The Native Americans, maybe 10,000. It's kind of hard to say. But anyway, that's conjecture on my part. We still don't really know exactly. Spicebush bird droppings. Birds are an efficient way to distribute seeds as they fly very far, but they tend to drop them when they are resting on branches not while in flight. This is, however, better for meeting specific requirements. As you can see, like 1 dot for the milkweed, a whole bunch for the pawpaws. Okay, here's the seed dispersion emoji graph. It's a companion to the history of pawpaw seed dispersion in part 1. Spicebush and milkweed have not had their method of seed dispersal disrupted. Each emoji represents 1 to 3 miles or 2 to 5 kilometers. Milkweed, when fairly distant, most land nearby, but a few can travel far. Pawpaws, various mammals, raccoons, pigs, deer, skunk, probably something I'm forgetting, but not much. They don't go that far. Spicebush, small birds, pretty far. They actually they're very efficient. That's a good way to spread seeds. Possibly better than the milkweed. It's hard to say. They both work really good, but the pawpaws, no, they don't have the other shit. Okay, I discussed anti-resiliency check totals. Milkweed, I give it 5. It's pretty good. It's not like dandelions, but it's robustly spreads. And pawpaw, I give 20. It does not spread that well at all. And Spicebush, I give 7. I find that Spicebush is a little more rare than the milkweed, but it's around. So the pawpaws, basically, when they're not in an area, they're really not going to come back. I mean, when you consider, I could get into a whole bunch of other shit, but anyway, I'm going to get back to protogyny because I'm just obsessed. Protogyny is a kind of sequential hermaphroditism. Proto means first. Gyn refers to being female, or gin, whatever. Here's a fish that is first female, then later male. Organisms can also be male first, which is called protandry, and being protagynous. Protandrous, excuse me. As far as plants go, there's a whole lot more written about the structures of flowers with these traits, but I think we don't need to get any more nerdy. There's also mollusks and crustaceans with these traits. And here's the moon wrestler in something in Latin, which I can't read the way that I'm doing this here. So we'll skip ahead. Okay, protogeny, as I said before, people always think that pawpaws are male and female. I keep hearing them say that, and it's not so. So I wrote a song, which I will sing, and you will remember the term protogynous, and in turn, protogeny. I get that backwards. Let me repeat again. Proto equals first, gyn equals female. Protogeny, 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 protogeny. I start out female, I start out female. My pedestal hangs downward, accepting pollen, accepting pollen. Carried by beetles and flies. Protogeny, 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 protogeny. And later on, my pistil fades. It can no longer be fertilized. But at the same time, my stamens develop and start to release pollen. Protogeny, Protogyny, 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 protogyny. The pollen emanates from the flowers to the fresher flowers out there. As the flower fades, it is male, but it can fertilize a young floral. Protogyny, 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 protogyny. Okay, are you going to remember the word protogyny now? Do you understand what it means? Great. Now I will return to another concept, anachronistic plants, in slides 5 through 11. I explained why pawpaws do not return to areas where they are rare. I will briefly note that in areas where they are common, they have become more common due to deer predation on other tasty natives. That is not a problem here in the Pittsburgh area and some areas that they've been extirpated from. What I want you to remember is that Asamina triloba are anachronistic plants. Here straight from Wiki, a bit more scientific than my first explanation. Evolutionary anachronism is a concept in evolutionary biology named by Connie C. Barlow in her book, The Ghosts of Evolution. It refers to attributes of living species that are best explained as a result of having been favorably selected in the past due to coevolution with other biological species that have since become extinct. When this context is removed, the natural attributes appear as unexplained energy investments by the living organism with no apparent benefit, and perhaps are prejudicial to the continued reproduction of the surviving species. Wow, that's a lot of words. I guess that I can't read the bottom line here because of the way I have this set up. And again, man, I just read too fast. But I'm going to sing in a minute. You can pause if you didn't catch all that I said. Okay, I'm getting ready to sing. And I'm going to sing us out and say something else. Zebra swallowtail flies through the valley, lands on the flowers, sips sweet nectar. Life is sweet, life is good, life is right. The white man comes and settles in. He builds a fort to protect kin. Here he will stay, won't go away. Here he will build, destroy, and build. Here he will stay, won't go away. Here he will build, destroy, and build. Okay, it'd be nice if you would like, rate, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Part 3 is coming up soon. I think I'm going to talk about how we can bring this back and all the bullshit that I've been doing and how you can help me. Yeah, you can help me a lot. Like, subscribe, rate, all that. Okay, thanks. Bye.